All right. Still here. Oh, my watch is dead. I was gonna have a look at the time. Or the time's 6:50. 6:50. I've been thinking. I'm always thinking. I'm always plotting. I think I want to devote first and foremost, right? I want to devote myself more and more to YouTube. I've just decided that now I'd like to spend more time on YouTube. I think just pushing myself, right? Pushing myself out of my comfort zone. I'm not sure if it's pushing myself out of my comfort zone or because this is time consuming, right? Making a YouTube video in its entirety is pretty time consuming. I mean, when it comes to like, obviously, I'm just kind of just making videos. I'll sit, I'll think, yo, I might make a video. I'll post it, and there's no real harm in it. There's no real harm in it. Like, it's just making a video and then posting it, and then eventually, when you're somewhere else, you can look back and you can think, damn, you just did that. Like, like you're a really cool person, man. You're really going. Even then, even that long ago, it serves as visual evidence, vivid evidence, tangible proof that you were actually trying. You were actually trying all those years ago, and you almost prophesized it. I want to talk about the self, right? I think the self's a really interesting thing. The self. When I talk about the self, I talk about the person, right? The person that's in control of you. Who's in control of you? Because we're all conformists in a way, right? We're all conformists in a way. But who's in control of you? What do you conform to? I go to school. I'm still in school. I have to conform. I have to wake up in time. If I don't go to school, then there'll be a clear deviation of social norms, won't it? So I have to go to school. So we all conform in a way, right? Who do you conform to? Because it goes a lot deeper than just school, let's say, or like just to work, let's say, because there's a lot more to it. Because you might even just say things that you may not even agree with, just for the sake of not infuriating other people, and you're conforming to the standards that these people have on you. Are you not? I mean, when we talk about freedom of speech, obviously now it's become a lot more politicized, the term freedom of speech, right? But fundamentally, if you're not speaking freely, then you're conforming to one else's agenda. I mean, that's only the tip of the iceberg. Are you even conforming to, when we talk about conformity, what are you conforming to? Because you're conforming to something. You have to know yourself what you're conforming to. Because if you're just unknowingly, not necessarily unwillingly, but if you're just unknowingly conforming to just something that you don't even need to be, but because I don't want to say the term hypnotized yourself, because that's not what it is. It's not hypnosis. What I'm thinking of is not hypnosis. It's like you just do something unknowingly, right? You're doing something unknowingly just because you don't really know what else to do in that scenario, right? So you just do what seems right, even though it may not be, quote unquote, be right? Like, you just do something because you kind of need to do it. You don't really have to do it. You don't really need to say it. I mean, you could say the thing. Let's use the term X. You could say X, right? But if you say X, then Y is going to get really unhappy. And if Y gets really unhappy, then A, B, C, and D might get very unhappy. So you decide not to say X, right? But if you just said X, you'd feel a lot more relieved. Yes, Y could start shivering, right? But I think Y could live. I think Y could live. Y really could live. So I think when it comes to that, I think it's just about being independent, being original, and just being yourself throughout, and never allowing anyone else to look at you otherwise and force you to say something that you don't actually agree with, or force you to. I got marked down in politics in my mock exam because I said Marxist. You know, this is a fundamental disapproval that I have with just education, right? I mean, I really do like education. Education, I'm such an advocate of going to school, because even if you find it tedious, which I do at times, you know, sometimes I'm just scribbling away or doing whatever, like, school, firstly, it's just a ground of knowledge, right? I mean, like, if you're talking about learning as much as you can, why not go to school and just try and learn as much as you can? Like, just try and learn, right? Because, like, learning is one of the greatest, or the human's ability to just read in itself is just brilliant. The ability, the human brain's ability to capacitate so much knowledge, you can just own a wealth of knowledge, right? And then with the wealth of knowledge that you just own, and some of it is, even if school doesn't apply to what you want to do in your future, I mean, the actual bottom line is you're still learning, right? And it does give you a sense of stability. But I like, me personally, this will come in a later episode, to be honest. When it comes to school and education, it's valuable, but this is different. Actually, I've strayed off track. But that's a different concept. As I was saying, I got marked down for saying Marxist in my mock exam, my politics mock exam, something about socialism. You know, he's meant to be underneath revolutionaries, and I said revolutionaries, but then I said Marxists, like Karl Marx. I don't really understand. That's his surname, no? Karl Marx. Marxist is his surname. I think that is an example of. How should I say this? Is it an example of true? Is it an example of indoctrination? I don't think so. On a real level, I don't think so. But I mean, the two are kind of similar. How am I unable to say the word Marxist? How am I unable to call Karl Marx a Marxist? Why am I not allowed? Why is that a lesser mark? Why is that not a mark than if I called Karl Marx a revolutionary instead of a Marxist? I literally called them both in the exam, but because I called him a Marxist, because I said the word Marxist, I got an X. You know, to combat that, because I didn't actually know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. But, you know, when you're writing an essay, you're kind of just writing freely. But I looked up, and then I wrote Democratic Socialist instead of Social Democrat. And then I also got marked down for that as well. And I got a C. But, yeah, I don't know. I think school's important though, regardless of what you think about school, because whatever you think about school, I've been there, mate. I think the exact same thing. You know, life has a way of giving, but you have to like sit up straight, put your chair in sometimes, and just have a really positive outlook of the world, and know that school is going to help you no matter what. School is the foundation. It's the inescapable foundation, right? And it's the inescapable cornerstone pillar of your life and your system, and how you can be the best you can. And if you've been, let's say, expelled from school, and you're watching me blag on about school, I know a lot of people that have been expelled from school. I know a lot of people that have been expelled from school, and if I could say anything to anyone that's been expelled from school, because I've never been expelled from school, been suspended, never been expelled from school, but I'd tell those people to just like try and be the best person you can be. And that's the only thing I can only say to anyone else, because who am I to sit here and judge you? But who are you to judge yourself? You can always judge yourself. And one thing I should always aim to do is just judge myself. If I'm not doing something that if I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing, I should judge myself there and then, and I should stop doing it, because I know what's good for me. I know the difference between right and wrong. I do. You should say that to yourself. Say that to yourself every single time. You know the difference between right and wrong. And if you're doing something wrong, you just stop it. You just stop it. Because who are you conforming to? Who are you conforming to? Because in that situation, when you're doing something wrong, to have been in that position, you must have lost initial control of yourself, right? I'm not saying you lost control of yourself, but I mean, you could have been doing the right thing instead of doing the wrong thing. So you must have tweaked, right? So if you can, who are you conforming for when you were doing that, right? Were you just doing what you think you normally do when you don't actually normally do that? It's a strange paradigm. It's a strange concept. I read the book, The Railway Man, Eric Lomax. Brilliant book. It helped me think, think about what people go through, the actual depths of humanity's potential cruelty and brutality, and how, I'm living here, I'm living in this house, and there's a lot of hardships that people will go through in life. There's a lot of unforeseeable events. But no matter what that book taught me, number one, was the strength of camaraderie, the strength of people. When people are together and they're bound together by a real serious kind of identity, ideology, and goal, those people are really strong. Those people are able to find their way out of problems. And even when it looks inescapable, even when the problems look inescapable, those people can still wake up the next day. And to be fair to them, they did not take their own life. Because they just woke up the next day and the next day and went through it all again. Because they, in their heart, failure, pure failure, wasn't an option. It wasn't an option. So then they worked hard and hard and hard and hard and hard. And they just didn't stop, and they never gave up in themselves. They never gave up in themselves. I can never give up in myself. You can never give up in yourself. Never ever give up in yourself. Always try your hardest to be the best version of yourself that you can just be, and look to help people, look to give ideas and benefit the greater society, benefit humanity. I want to start doing more YouTube. I want to start getting myself out there, man. I want to start building my brand, my own public brand, my own. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to start doing. I think I'm really going to start. This is really easy to say. I think I'm going to start. I think as I progress in life, then I'll start building more and more blocks, building more and more fundamental blocks, and holding myself to account. And I think this is one way I can hold myself to account. Every week, every 2 weeks, every month, I don't know, but at least I can hold myself to account. And finding ways to hold yourself to account is very valuable, and this is one way that I think I've been able to do. Thank you for listening. This is Hayden, and thank you.